Mike here from The Wellness Bucket. Thank you so much for joining me for another Mondays with Mike episode. I'm big time excited you guys are here, and let's go ahead and dive into this week's message. And it actually comes from a conversation I recently had, and a lot of these episodes come from conversations I have with either clients of mine or even people who reach out to me via The Wellness Bucket. And this week I had a conversation just earlier, actually on Sunday, and the conversation was, hey, how do I decide if I want to go after this goal? How do I decide if I'm going to do it? You know, if I have what it takes to go after and accomplish this goal, right? And it was actually a really good question. You know, it's like, how do I decide if I'm really am committed to this goal I have? And it got me thinking about my own goals, and as far as like, hey, well, how do I decide? Like, what makes me decide that, hey, this goal is what I want, I'm going to go out and make it happen and commit to it, and, you know, I feel comfortable and confident enough that it is going to happen. So the more I thought about it, the more I thought of three things that I actually find myself doing that I actually, until I really thought about it, I didn't realize, man, I really go through this process, and it's kind of cool because it tells me right out of the gate. It's 3 words, 3 questions I ask myself whether or not, you know, it tells me immediately, am I ready? Am I going to give myself the best shot possible at achieving this goal, this fitness goal? So what are these 3 questions? And really I break it down to 3 words. And number one is like really, number one is what? First of all, first and foremost, what is it? What do I want? What's the goal, right? So I need to know what that is. So it can't just be this roundabout kind of thing that's out there. Like, what do I want? If it's like a 6-pack abs, it's 6-pack abs. If it's like to run a marathon, it's to run a marathon, right? It's very, very precise. What do I want? So number one is like, hey, what do I want? I identify the things I want. And it could be like, for example, I mean, it could be things like, hey, I want to feel good. I want to look good. I do want to have a 6-pack. I want to look good, not just for myself, but even for my girlfriend. I want to feel comfortable and confident on the beach. You know, I don't want age to dictate what I can and can't do. I just turned 40 earlier this year, and I want to be able to do the things I want to do, the things that make me happy. I want to have more energy. And, you know, I actually love life. I want to be around for as long as I possibly can. So, you know, what do I want? Those are a lot of the things I want. You know, I could break them down to like, here's what I want. I want to be strong, be healthy, have the energy, you know, do the things that I want to do, you know, as long as I can do them. I want to be around as long as I want to be around. It could even be as, hey, I want to qualify for the Boston Marathon, you know? So what is it that I want? I think for the most part, we all know what we want. And maybe I've even named a bunch of things that you want as well for yourself. So that's number one, is what do I want? And next comes the biggie, is aside from what is, well, now that I know what I want, well, what must I do, right? What must I do to get what I want? What are the things I must do to get what I want? And sometimes, yeah, we don't know. Sometimes it's like, hey, I want to lose 30 pounds, 40 pounds. I think a lot of us know what we need to do. For example, if I want to feel good, have more energy, look good, have a 6-pack, I have a pretty good idea of what I need to do as far as exercise, eating healthy, running consistently, drinking my water. I know what I need to do, right? If I want to give myself a good chance of like living longer, you know, just do all the healthy things, you know, the stretching, the meditation, the, you know, drinking water, eating healthy, training harder, getting uncomfortable, put myself in a situation. I just ran 22 miles this past weekend. Was that fun? Not exactly, but you know, if I'm going to continue to run these marathons and these ultra marathons, I need to get uncomfortable and put myself in a position, you know, what must I do to get the things I want? So identifying the musts. And I think for the most part, we also know, like, hey, if these are the things we want, what must we do? And again, I think we do know what we must do. And I don't mean, and there's a reason why I say must and not, hey, I need to do, or I should do, or I could do. We don't get our shoulds, our coulds, and our needs. We get our musts. Absolutely must do. That is what we get done, the things we must do. If you tell me I need to do something, I'm not going to do it. Maybe it's just a rebellious part of me. I don't want to need to do anything. If these are the things I want, this is what I must do. And again, we all know what must be done to get the things we want to do. Now here comes the biggie. Here's what decides whether or not I actually take action on my must. I know what I want. I can tell you that. I know what I must do now. The biggie, whether or not I will accomplish my goals, is the last one, which is will. Will I do the things I must do? Am I willing to do the things that must be done to get the things I want? That's the biggie. What do I want? What must be done? Will I do it? Not should I, could I need. will I do it? And that's the biggest difference. That for me, at least, I found that, there's a lot of things that I want. Like, for example, right now I want to qualify for that Boston Marathon, and I know what must be done. The hard training, the speed work. There's a lot of time, energy, discipline, commitment that goes into it. I'm still asking myself, hey, am I willing to do that? And I think that applies to all of us. We know what we want. Figure out what must be done, and then the last question, and that's a biggie, that's what decides whether or not we get it done. Will we do it? Will we do it? And that's a conversation I had with my client earlier this week, or Sunday, yesterday, was I know you can do it, and I know you must do it if you want these things here, but the question is, will you do it? Will you do it? And again, no one can decide that for me, no one can decide that for you, only we can decide, will we do it? And it's always, I always say that, the equation to get the things we want, the must, hey, what must we do? It's not really that hard to figure out. The equation to figure out what we need to do to get what we want, it's not difficult. It's not the equation that's the challenge, it's the journey. It's the time, the commitment, the energy, the effort, the discipline that's required, to do the things we must do to get what we want. That's the challenge for all of us, including myself. So next time you find yourself like, hey man, what are the things I want? Ask yourself, what must you do? But then after that, the biggie is like, hey, will I do that? Will I do that? Because that's the deciding factor whether or not, you hit the goal or you don't hit the goal. That's the deciding factor whether or not I go after that Boston Marathon qualifying time or I don't. I know what must be done, but will I? That's this week's message, guys. And again, I want to do one more question from someone who wrote in, and I like to answer these questions here live with you guys because usually you're thinking the same thing. So last week I got a question, and it goes here. It says, "Hi Mike, my name is Ellie, and I'm a 30-year-old girl. I've been married. I have a 3-year-old son. I work Monday through Friday. I have a 9 to 5 job. That's okay, but I'm not in love with it. I've always been very active, played sports through high school and college. For whatever reason, I can't seem to stay motivated long enough to develop a consistent exercise routine. What's the deal? What's my deal? Any suggestions? Thanks." Awesome question, Ellie, when it comes to motivation. I think a lot of us struggle with that, including myself. So there's 3 things that come to mind immediately when it comes to staying motivated and motivation. Number 1 is be careful with your story and your language as far as your statements. Because if you say like, hey, I can't get motivated, then that almost becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So just be careful with how and what you say to yourself. So number 1 is get rid of those words, I can't get motivated. Start by saying, hey, I will be motivated. I am motivated, and I will be, and I must be, and I'm going to be, and I will be, right? So I will be motivated. That's bottom line. Change your verbiage, your statements. That's number 1. Number 2 is ask yourself, well, why do you want to be motivated? Why do you want to exercise? Why is that important? And the fact that you have a child, that's usually a big motivating factor. That's usually a big why for people. It's like, hey, I want to be an example to my child. I want to be around for them long enough. I want to be as healthy as I can, have the energy to play with them. So number 2, really identify your whys. Why do you want to be healthy and be motivated to exercise regularly? That's usually a biggie that keeps you going. And then lastly, it's just make it fun. If you were an athlete in high school and college, chances are that was fun for you, right? You're out there competing, hanging out with your team. So even now, make it as fun as possible versus just like this routine thing you got to do multiple times, a week. So make it fun. So that's the suggestions I have for you. 3 quick suggestions as far as how to stay motivated going forward. So I hope that helps. And guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Have a phenomenal week ahead. If I can help you in any way, identify your what, your musts, and even your wills, reach out to me anytime. It's mike@thewellnessbucket.com. Have a phenomenal week ahead, and until next Monday, cheers.